I made a dynamic wallpaper for my MacBook. Let's see how it happened. Hello everyone, welcome back to Apex Studio. As you can see, my setup is a little bit different this time. And that's because I'm in Hong Kong right now to visit my grandparents. Since we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, I had to quarantine at a hotel for 14 days. And my hotel was not exactly big. I would even use tiny to describe it. And the Wi-Fi is pretty much unusable. It took me 15 seconds to send just a text. So that leaves me not too many options of what I can do. I can either stare at the window with a nice view or stare at my laptop. I looked at my current wallpaper and it's a nice view from a hiking trip I did back in Vancouver. But I was thinking like, how can I make it more fun? Then I remembered Apple's wallpaper, which is a dynamic wallpaper that changes from day to night according to the time. And I was like, can I make something similar? Or even better? Then I did some Googling with my horrific Wi-Fi and found out there's a website called Dynamic Wallpaper Club that will let you upload your own photos and create a dynamic wallpaper like Apple's. I found out that Dynamic Wallpaper Club has two modes for changing wallpaper. One is GPS based and the other one is time based. The GPS mode actually extracts EXIF data from your camera and display a wallpaper according to your location and the sun's location at the specific time at your location. It's pretty cool, and Apple does it the same way actually. But I'm gonna keep it simple and use the time mode, which allows me to say change the wallpaper every 4 hours or so. And at this point, I realized I'm pretty much doing a time lapse, and it brings back all the memories. Doing time lapses was actually what got me really interested into filmmaking in the early days when I was 15. I went onto YouTube to find the last time-lapse video that I did, and it was 7-8 years ago. It's crazy how time flies by, as cliche as it is. I'll link my old time-lapse playlist in the description below if you'd like to take a look. Anyway, after some precise calculation with my engineering background, I decided to take 12 photos with a 2-hour interval, so it will be 24 hours in total, which is one day. The setup is really simple. I used the R5 with the 70-40 wide-angle lens, put it on a small tripod and put it against the window. Make sure it doesn't shift. For camera settings, I looked for consistency and try to eliminate as many variables as possible. And that's why I turned off the image stabilizer and autofocus just to keep the number of moving parts to the minimum. I used aperture priority exposure instead of manual mode because the brightness of the view changes from day to night so much. I also manually set the white balance to daylight even though I know that it's probably closer to tungsten at night. That's because I want the final set of photos to have a gradually changing white balance, which I can do in Lightroom later. I decided to start shooting at night around midnight for a couple of reasons. One is that the clouds are really different from day 1 to day 2. It's a lot less noticeable when it's at night compared to when it's during the day. 2 is if the camera runs out of battery in the middle of the shoot, it will be at noon so I can change it without having to wake up again. But when I started shooting, I noticed that the R5 actually puts itself into sleep between each shot. It makes sense. Amazing. This project turned out to be harder than I thought, but it's a big realization for me that even if you plan everything perfectly, things can still go south. Before I had this idea of doing a dynamic wallpaper, the weather was amazing every day. It's like sunny and good sunset and clear night. But as soon as I started shooting, it's cloudy every day. It's not really a dynamic wallpaper if it's just cloudy, you know? After 3 days, it's still cloudy. And at this point, the camera has been shooting for almost 70 hours now. I almost wanted to stop shooting and just use whatever I already captured. But I didn't. I already put in so many hours, I just can't give up until I get the result that I want. And it cleared up. It finally did. At around 1 p.m. on the third day, I saw blue sky slowly creeping in over the mountains. It actually worked out perfectly as I get to capture a hazy, cloudy morning, sunny afternoon, and an absolutely gorgeous sunset. I could not have asked for more of a dynamic wallpaper. And here's the result. I hope you liked it. This wallpaper is now public on Dynamic Wallpaper Club. I'll put a link to it. Feel free to download it and use it for yourself. I'd also like to thank my friend Cyrus for inspiring me to do this. He mentioned that everyone at Apex should have a dynamic wallpaper a few years back when Apple first came out with it. That's it for this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay safe everyone. And I'll see you next time. Peace!